Hello everyone, my name's Kaylee Caverly. I'm a resource consultant with Children's Inclusion Support Services, and today I'm here to talk to you about autism. Throughout this webinar, we will discuss how autism may present itself in the different developmental domains, and I will provide you with various universal strategies that generally work for most children, but it's always important to consider the needs of individual children in order to support them appropriately. Choose strategies that you think will set the children in your care up for success. Autism is a neurodivergence or neurotype. The neurodiversity movement highlights the idea that the human brain is wired in different ways. Autism is one neurotype of many. On this slide, you see the neurodivergent umbrella. Autism falls under this umbrella. Similarly, ADHD, epilepsy, Down syndrome, and bipolar disorder also fall under this umbrella. Neurodivergence is a very broad concept that encompasses a number of people, maybe even you. The term neurodivergence covers a diverse range of inherent and acquired differences and particular profiles. Autism is a lifelong neurodevelopmental difference that affects the way a person communicates and relates to the people and the world around them. Throughout this training, I will share several resources with you, and at the end of the training, you will find links and resources. I invite you to watch the video linked in the description for more information about neurodiversity. Understanding the spectrum, the circular model. The spectrum consists of many different traits or ways in which the brain processes information. Some traits create difficulties in everyday life, but also many traits are useful in everyday life. As this visual shows, the autism spectrum is not linear. Autistic people are all different and will have a wide range of skills across developmental domains. Every autistic person is unique and experiences different strengths or difficulties in day-to-day life. This slide shows just one example of possible developmental combinations. For example, one person may have lots of language, while others may not, or may have difficulty with fine and gross motor movement, while others may not. Even autistic individuals that do well in all of these areas may also be extremely taxed. It may take a lot more energy than someone who is not autistic. As the expression goes, if you know one autistic child, you only know one autistic child. Autism is often associated with communication differences. Some children may use echolalia, which they are repeating or echoing language they have heard before. Some children may use scripted language, which is another example of echolalia. Social communication can also look different. How language is interpreted, facial expressions, eye contact, and joint or shared attention in general. Other traits linked to autism include talking a lot or not talking at all, taking things literally, being very honest, or speaking passionately about certain topics. Sometimes the only method of communication, or the most effective communication method for the child, is through behavior. As an example, a child may push a child in the cubby next to them because they're feeling that they're too close. Or they may take a peer or an adult by the hand and lead them over to an area of the room where there's a toy that's of interest to them, but it's out of reach. It's important to continue to send messages verbally or non-verbally. Continue to be curious about what their response could look like. Social skills. Social skills consist of the ability that allow us to perceive and understand what others are communicating. For example, interactions. Joint attention is part of social interactions. It consists of eye contact and shared attention, but eye contact is not necessary to have social interactions. It's important to never force a child to look you in the eyes. This can be extremely uncomfortable for some. Similarly, some children love touch and seek physical contact, while others may not like to be touched. For some children, touch may be very uncomfortable or triggering. Interpreting communication. This can be difficult for children in general, especially abstract concepts such as sarcasm or expressions. These skills usually are not fully developed before the age of 12. Similarly, non-speaking communication can be difficult to understand. Likewise, a child's non-speaking behaviors may not always clearly reflect how they're feeling. For example, they may look away while listening or thinking about what's happening around them. They may feel gratitude or enjoyment without it being obvious. Sharing. Sharing is also an aspect of social skills. We share space, toys, materials, attention. Social skills develop with time and models and adult guidance. As highlighted on this slide, autistic children, like all children, long for engagement and a sense of belonging. However, it's important to always acknowledge a child's desire to be engaged. For example, a child may be interested in what is happening during circle time, but may prefer to watch from a distance or take a body break at some point despite wanting to participate. Behavior. Behavior is the way we are, act or react to the world around us. Behaviors are varied and they always have a function or a reason. Our perspective has a significant impact on how we approach behaviors. It's important to always be curious and compassionate towards a child's behavior. Many factors impact behavior, such as biological, cognitive, social, environmental factors, and stressors. Other examples of stressors could include sensory. We can empathize with a child who is screaming in a loud, chaotic room because they're overstimulated. Communication. A child who pushes a friend who's too close and may want space. Social. A child who plays with the same toy as his friends but would prefer to play further away or parallel play instead. Often, body language communicates a message, and sometimes it reflects self-regulating behaviors that are responding to the child's needs. For example, a child may stim, flap their hands, spin, or make noises when they're feeling happy or upset. It's important to be mindful and curious in order to respond to all children's needs. This allows us to prevent challenging behaviors and reduce triggers, as well as support children with their emotional regulation. Anxiety, a state of being uneasy, apprehensive, or worried about what may happen. Concern about a possible future event. A recent study shows that 47% of autistic people experience severe anxiety, and that 59% report that anxiety has a major impact on their daily life. The complexity of the severity of the anxiety level can range from mild to severe. One situation or a series of events can trigger a state of alarm and physical reactions. Every child is different, but it's very common for unexpected events or changes, such as changes to the routine, fire alarms, inclement weather, or changes to rules in a game. This can cause anxiety. Predictability is important and can help reduce anxiety. Recognizing and regulating emotions can also be difficult. The pressure of having to behave in a certain way during social interactions can also contribute to anxiety. Sometimes we see behaviors or obvious signs of anxiety, but sometimes the anxiety experienced by a child is more subtle. It's important to be sensitive to children's needs and to remain calm and compassionate overall. Managing anxiety can be supported through co-regulation. This means we need to be open to environmental strategies as well as strategies that help return to calm and build connections. And we'll be discussing this next. Sensory processing. We all have 8 different sensory systems. Many of us are aware of the 5 common senses, which are visual stimuli, what we see, auditory stimuli, what we hear, tactile stimuli, sensations on the skin, and sensation of touching, olfactory stimuli, what we smell, and taste stimuli, what we taste. The three lesser-known sensory systems include the vestibular system. This is responsible for providing our brain with information about motion, head position, and spatial orientation. It also helps us keep our balance, stabilize our head and body during movement, and maintain posture. Vestibular stimuli are mainly processed via receptors in the inner ear. Proprioceptive system is located in our muscles and joints. It provides us with a sense of body awareness and controls force and pressure. Proprioceptive systems gives us a sense of awareness of where our bodies are in space and how it's moving, our body coordination. Interoception is our internal sensation that reflects what's happening in our body, our hunger, our fatigue, our toileting needs. Please click the link to watch a short video on hypersensitivity. The video highlights different ways hypersensitivity can influence how children experience and interact within their physical space. For example, how they respond to sounds, crowds, or lights. Enjoy! The video on the previous slide talked about hypersensitivity. Now we're going to talk about hyposensitivity. As you can see, sometimes children learn or develop different coping strategies to meet their needs. For example, covering their ears or wearing noise-canceling headphones when it's too noisy, bouncing on a ball or climbing on a structure, spinning or running, crawling into a cubby, or asking for a big squeeze, watching the sun reflect on a shiny surface or the sand fall through a sand timer. Hypersensitive is avoiding, where hyposensitive is seeking that sensory input. Strategies to promote communication. Establish a connection with the child in order to communicate with them. Eye contact is not needed for joint attention. As adults, we can share in the child's interest and what they're doing to make a connection. Get a child's attention in a way that works for them. For example, be close to a child. Get down to their level. Use their name as a point of connection rather than to correct or redirect. Be animated, join in their play, and sing songs if the child likes songs. Observe, recognize, and reinforce all forms of communication. Have a curious and compassionate approach with the child to understand what they are feeling, want, or need. This will allow us to better support language development. Interpret what the child is communicating and model language using their main method of communication. For example, a child tries to open their water bottle and gives the bottle to an educator, so the educator says help. A child takes an educator's hand and guides them to the bookshelf, so the educator says want book. Use clear and simple language. Give the child time to process the information. For example, count to 10 in your head after modeling the language. Be consistent in the language used. For example, a consistent song for cleanup time, consistent labels for objects or spaces. Children learn through repetition. Use language in context and in familiar routines. For example, if a child wants a marker but is asking for glue, give them the glue to help teach the connection. You can show the marker and then model the appropriate language. Incorporate visual aids to support communications. Meaningful gestures, sign language, images, pictures, objects. Visuals. All children benefit from visual strategies to help them understand and communicate their wants and needs. This promotes a child's overall development. Many autistic children are visual learners. This means that they process and retain information when they can see and hear the information at the same time instead of only hearing it. Studies show that the visual spatial information is more easily processed in the auditory information. Visual strategies can range from showing concrete objects, showing a child's shoes before going outside, to using gestures, pointing to the cubby, or using pictures. Visual aids support language development, expressive and receptive. The following tools can help respond to many needs. Visuals give children the time they need to process information and understand verbal instructions through the use of visual cues. Many factors, noise, movement, fatigue, can mean that part of what is being said gets missed. But when children are shown a visual alongside a verbal instruction, this helps them to better understand. For example, when dressing, there's a lot of movement and noise that can make it difficult to hear the verbal instruction, put on your coat. Pairing the instruction with a visual, pointing to the coat or holding it up to show them, can make the message clearer for the child and help them follow the expectation more easily. Visual tools can also support the expressive language of a child who's less likely to speak or use mouth words. For example, augmentative and alternative communication tools can allow individuals to point to pictures to help others understand their feelings, wants, and needs. Some examples of augmentative communication tools include tablets with communication apps, GoTalk devices, and communication boards. Visuals can reduce anxiety. Using visuals on a daily basis increases understanding and predictability, helping to maximize a child's learning and reduce anxiety. Visuals benefit children and adults. When the adult communicates with visual support, the child can better understand. The child has access to a visual communication system. This can help the adult to better understand the child and better meet their needs. Visual tools can improve verbal understanding, environmental expectations, and offer supports and structure. When routines are consistent, this can help children to understand and attach meaning to images. As an example, a visual schedule is an excellent visual support to provide predictability. It can help children see events in sequence, prepare for transitions, and anticipate changes in their day. Visual sequences can help children feel competent and capable. The sequences can promote a child's independence and knowing what to do and how to do it independently. A transition is when children are expected to stop and finish what they are doing before moving on to something else. Transitions can be a difficult time for everyone. Understanding children's needs can and will increase the success of transitions. Best practices tell us that children should spend less time throughout the day in transitions, and we should limit wait times. Children 0 to 5 spend more than 50% of their day in routines and transitional activities. Children 5 to 8 spend more than 40% of their day in routine activities and transitions. This excludes school time. Autistic children may have more difficulty with cognitive flexibility, switching from one thing to another, and unpredictability may trigger stress-related behaviors. Careful planning and preventative strategies will support a more predictable transition and reduce stress and anxiety. Strategies to support successful transitions. Use visual tools and transitional warnings, such as cues. Auditory cues like bells or a consistent song. Visuals like gestures, timers, visual schedules. Concrete objects, showing a diaper, a spoon, or a coat. Transitional warnings. Capture a child's attention. Validate, connect. Formulate clear and precise instructions. Show the visual, give reminders, support follow-through, provide positive attention, and reinforce efforts and successes. Have clear expectations. Communicate instructions to children using clear and concise language. Use short and concrete sentences. Communicate effectively. Provide reminders, verbal, visual, and physical, and help as needed. Give positive attention and use a playful approach. Have short wait times. Plan and prepare for wait times by having books, songs, small games, and fidget toys. Have them ready to use if needed. Avoid unnecessary transitions. Think about the number of transitions in your day and the steps involved. To support effective transitions throughout the day, consider the 3D approach: the shortest distance, the fewest distractions, and the most direct route. Identify and prevent triggers. These strategies are all intended to promote children's success during transitions, but it's also important to continue to identify and reduce additional triggers. This includes being flexible and mindful of meeting the children where they are at. Perhaps they need more help than expected, or to have a transition item to soothe them. Responding to children's sensory needs throughout the day promotes their engagement and inclusion. Providing sensory support helps children self-regulate and feel good in their bodies. This allows them to engage in transitions, games, interactions, social interactions, and learning. In transitions, this could look like offering heavy work, helper jobs, differing responsibilities, using fidget toys, or breaking into small groups to help minimize overstimulation or agitation. Sensory strategies are regulating and can be calming. For example, calm down areas allow children to retreat as needed, while dancing can help release energy. As responsive adults, we can teach these tools through modeling, positive attention, and a calm, compassionate approach. Co-regulation allows children to develop self-regulation. Strategies to support social skills and play. Follow children's interests and be curious. Observe children's interests and follow their lead. For example, imitate in order to connect and enter into their play, as well as to model and promote learning. Meet children where they're at. Recognize that there are many ways to play, and unless it's unsafe, there's no right or wrong way to play. For example, it's great if a child likes to line up their cars or repeat movement without being redirected or corrected. Prepare and set up various play areas around the room to promote engagement. This also allows children to play in small groups where it's less crowded and less noisy. Some children don't like participating in activities with lots of other children. Consider the stressors associated with larger groups: noise, movement, lack of predictability, challenges with sharing. During activities, we can play with children and model social skills, as well as expand on their play. Give positive attention and offer the tools needed to support play. For example, use timers, show my turn, your turn, wait visuals. Reinforce the communication of all children. Social scripts describe social expectations in the form of a short story or script. They provide scenarios for social interactions through simple language and visuals. With the help of an adult, the child reads the story ahead of time. When the situation actually happens, the child can use the story to help guide their actions. The situation is described in detail and focus is given to few key points: how the child may feel, what they could experience, see, or hear, and how they could respond. The goal is to increase the understanding of what might happen in certain situations, thereby reducing anxiety and in teaching them appropriate responses. Here's an example of a social story for asking for a toy. I would like to play with the toy, but someone else is using it. I can ask for a turn. I want, or can I try, please? If they want to give it to me, I can say thank you. They could answer no. I take a deep breath. I find another toy I like. Great! I know how to ask for what I want. This is a list of useful and up-to-date websites where you can research and learn more about autism. Please remember, CISS has a resource library which can be accessed online. I hope you enjoyed this webinar on autism and are walking away with some new strategies. Thank you very much.